Hello, my name is Ben Story. My project name is Basic Means for Life After Prison. It talks about the transition of ex-offenders, which are described as people who have done time in prison and are coming back into society. They re-enter society and are most successful through employment with the help from counsel and mentoring. I've conducted research over the last 7 weeks on how this ex-offender subgroup within my community and other communities affects society at large. So I found that there are organizations and programs available for reentry assistance to ease transition and ultimately help the ex-offender become independent civilians where they can provide for themselves and other dependents. These programs can be private or public, and many different methods used to employ ex-offenders. I will cover both the successful and unsuccessful types of rehab based on research and experimentation. The next slide in my presentation shows the rise of incarceration in the United States between the 1970s and 2000s. It shows that each decade has nearly doubled the previous decade. So in 1970, the release of prisoners was around 175,000, and follow that to the year 2000 where it was above 700,000. So along with this trend is the amount of reoffenders that are released and quickly rearrested for less serious crimes or conditions of their parole that have more serious punishments due to multiple infractions. Two-thirds of ex-offenders after being released are rearrested, and over half of those are reincarcerated within 3 years. This is a vicious cycle of processing in and out of prisons for these individuals that is known as the revolving door effect. This problem creates an unstable stage for communities by having large portions within that society contribute nothing but rely on state and federal institutions for their everyday needs. This trend increases taxes for public. It has an effect to lower economy as well as creating a less safe public space. Next, we'll take a look at some of the organizations that are focused on ex-offender needs. One that I found locally is called Turnaround. It offers an assistance to anyone with a criminal history or anyone trying to make their transition back into society with help for necessities and information regarding employment. This is a temporary program that was a federal grant, and it is continued throughout the year. Another organization is called Blue Sky. They're a British-based rehabilitative project, and it turned into a profitable company who trains and places ex-offenders into skilled positions. Some of these positions are technical jobs such as construction and landscaping. Twin Cities Rise, Minnesota, is based in Minnesota as a workforce development program that aims at helping people with criminal histories get jobs and keep those jobs with critical skill building to enhance both soft and hard skills, which are defined as managerial skills and technical skills, respectively. North Carolina Corrections Enterprise recruits businesses to look more closely at hiring ex-cons. It has grown into a very profitable company. It started as a federal grant program, but became successful enough to become a full-time private company. These are such crucial groups to support and serve in the community because of the demographic that are benefited by them. Ex-offenders, and more specifically veteran ex-offenders, are among the least employed subgroup in society. The competitive workforce is defined by having no liabilities to employ based on anything but relatable skills. The next slide shows some of the factors that limit reentry success for ex-offenders. Prisons that do not employ pre-release preparedness programs for the inmates are failing to keep up with needs of a demanding civilian workforce. Many prisoners upon release have limited resources and find that they are starting on the lowest rung of the labor ladder. What many of the service organizations offer is assistance to get a running start upon release. There are often reward incentives for returning for follow-ups to the programs and keeping steady employment or other requirements such as passing drug tests. Some of the rewards include money, gift certificates, and transportation vouchers. There's also other things that ex-offenders leave prison without having, which is almost no income at all or savings, no personal state-issued identification, no means of transportation, and they lack basic necessities, which can be exponential, which can make everything added more difficult. Some of the other factors are a little bit deeper issues for the inmates that impact their successful reentry process. Groups like Turnaround and the ones mentioned before assist with these by offering mentorship and counsels. The ability to conduct job interviews without giving up impertinent information about their history is important to get a foot in the door of the employment process. Statistics show over 80% of companies perform background checks, and studies show that a criminal history can deter employers to not call back a potential ex-offender or a potential employee that is an ex-offender by up to 50% or more. That is according to an article in Corrections Today. There is a mental barrier that can come from spending so much time in prison and often going back for multiple stints. It has been described as being easier to survive in prison than out in society by some ex-offenders. This shows the importance of having pre-release goals for inmates that are advocated by these community-based groups. There are methods of rehabilitation that work for those who are released. They include facilitator-led groups that work through phases. They have greater success than self-study job searches, which means whenever there's a group of professionals that are leading and encouraging prisoners to progress through the program is what works the best. Comprehensive programs that include counseling, training, and therapy to ease re-entry show evidence of long-term change. And preparation for release from prison starts before release, which is key. For prisoners to fully benefit from available resources, individuals should start preparing for their release as soon as they arrive to serve their time in prison. The more interaction and responsibility that an individual is able to acquire is a great start at the rehabilitation process. For those inside the prison walls, there can be very close bonds made. Hence the need for more positive guidance from the community during the sentence served as well as upon release. Many opportunities are lost on the day labor industry, which is a method that does not work for ex-offenders to re-enter society. They have been criticized for exploiting the ex-offender community as a cheap, abundant, and readily available resource. It has grown into a billion-dollar industry with little actual benefit for the worker long term. There are self-study programs available that don't offer professional guidance or mentorship, and these methods have been statistically proven to not have as great a success rate as those with leaders. Other methods that are not beneficial are programs that include things such as pamphlets or booklets to follow. Um, Also, unincorporated programs that start after release from prison. These seem to not offer enough. They do not seem to offer enough incentive and positive support for the ex-cons that usually have need for impactful relationships on the outside of prison walls even before release. This is the reference page. There's a wealth of information out there regarding this issue. I encourage you to take part in building a stronger community by helping this subgroup of ex-offenders and really advocating for their improvement in society. I thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope that you've learned something and get encouraged to do more in your community. Thank you and have a great day.